Up on the brief this morning is a parting words from the immediate past Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ariwoola, seeking reforms to reduce the workload on the Supreme Court. He explains how too many cases get to the apex court that ought to have been terminated at the appellate court. Justice Ariwoola gave the counsel during a valedictory session in his honor at the Supreme Court in Abuja. He said access to justice has contributed largely to the delay in the hearing of cases, as litigants and lawyers are forced to wait for several years to have their cases decided.
My noble lords, it is however my belief that access to justice should not be regarded as uncontrolled and unfiltered liberty to bring all forms of cases to the Supreme Court. It is my belief that we trivialize the institution of the Supreme Court as a court of policy when every form of litigation is able to meander its way to the apex court. It is my conviction that the right to fair hearing enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria could only be meaningful when litigants have enough judges and justices to hear their cases. Justice is not a scarce commodity to be queued for. Justice without delay is inherent, natural, and constitutional.
That event was attended by his successor, Justice Kudura Kekerekun, and the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, who eulogized the CJN and shared the commitment of the executive arm of government to ensure the third arm of government serves its constitutional role.
I urge the Nigerian judiciary to live up to its constitutional mandate and ignore those who never see anything good in the judiciary unless the pendulum of justice swings their way. I commend the book, the document of record, to lawyers, jurists, eminent scholars, and other individuals in Nigeria's legal community who can learn from his lordship's experiences.
Let's stay in Abuja, but away from that, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASAN, is asking the federal government to urgently deploy relevant security agencies to secure key oil installations in the Niger Delta and remove the provision of security from overhead of international oil companies operating in the country. The position of the association was conveyed by its national president, Mr. Festus Osifo, on the second day of the third edition of PENGASAN's Energy and Labour Summit in Abuja. Mr. Osifo also revealed that the cost of production in Nigeria is having an adverse effect on its revenue, as oil companies have to provide security for their operations at a very high cost.
When you go to One and you see a particular vessel, a supply vessel going offshore, you are going to have 2, 3, 4 security vessels going with one supply vessel that is sailing offshore. That is the cost is quite huge. So we are calling on government that they should take away that cost from the IOCs by deploying a lot of security vessels to police our oil and gas investment. Because today, as it's been said, it was echoed yesterday, that crude is now found literally everywhere in the world, unlike before, where we were the toast.
Let's move on now. A challenge has now been extended by the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, maintaining he doesn't meddle in corrupt practices and dares anyone with evidence to prove him wrong. A challenge to the public came while Senator Uzodinma was giving his remarks at an event organized to honor the First Republic Premier of Eastern Region, Dr. Michael Okpara, in Abuja. He advised the public officers, office holders, to desist from engaging in corruption and urged them to emulate the late Dr. Michael Okpara to achieve a more prosperous country.
Rendering of honest and dedicated service without soiling his hands in corruption is an enduring lesson that those of us currently in public office should emulate. Public office holders should live within their legitimate means. As I speak, nobody can come out openly to accuse me of corruption. My close aides, and I challenge anybody. My close aides who engaged in untoward activities never knew how fast they were thrown out of government.
Big challenge from Governor Hope Uzodinma. So if you have evidence against him that is corrupt, maybe it is a good time. Well, let's move on. At least 13 people have been killed following a bandit attack on locals in their farm at the Joa fringes of Alawa community of Shiroro local government area of Niger State. The bandits are reported to have shot and killed 9 persons on the spot, while 4 others were killed at different locations on the same day. The chairman of Shiroro local government area and an eyewitness who spoke to Channels Television said the bandits targeted residents of Alawa community due to their continuous supply of intelligence to security agencies on bandits' movement and hideout. The Niger State acting governor, Yakubu Garuba, describes the incident as evil, insensible, and callous. And this attack comes at the time farmers are suspected to spend more time in their farms. Channels Television gathered that several others far away from the scene have also deserted their farmland for fear of possible attack. Let's head back down south. The Enugu State government has demolished property allegedly used by kidnappers for their activities in the outskirts of Enugu, the state capital. The chairman of Enugu Capital Territory Development Authority, Mr. Uche Anya, explains that among the property were an uncompleted story building with an underground tunnel at Nkwobo layout in Emenike, where a large cache of arms and ammunition were recovered, and a large farmhouse of poultry, piggery, and plantation were also discovered. Messiah stresses that the government is determined to eliminate all manner of criminality from the state and take over the property for government use. In Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki says the incident of cultism and homicide has witnessed a drastic reduction since the introduction of the Special Task Force Against Cultism in May this year. Mr. Obaseki said this momentum will be sustained in collaboration with other security agencies in the state. And according to him, statistics from the monthly incident report shows that the figure of 129 recorded in May has now gone down to 79 in June and down to even 50 in July. He gave the disclosure during a briefing with journalists after the monthly Security Council meeting at the government house in Benin City.
We saw the total incidents drop from 79 incidents reported last month to 50 incidents this month. That is the month of July. It dropped from 79 in June to 50 in July. You recall we set up the committee in May, the Committee on Cultism in May, where the total incidents had risen to an all-time high of 129 cases of crime for the month of May, mainly driven by cultism, homicide, and drugs. Since that committee swung into action, we have seen remarkable success. The incidents dropped from 129 in May to 79 in June, and to a further 50 incidents in July. August till date, we've also seen a similar trend. Many arrests have been made, and we are ensuring that we commence prosecution, and we're assured by the relevant authorities that from evidence gathered so far, we should be able to.
Let's talk some business. The Chief of Staff to the President, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, says the 2025 budget for the State House agencies will be based on a thorough needs assessment to ensure that funding allocation to agencies are based on actual requirements. He said this after a one-day fact-finding tour of some government agencies under the supervision of the State House, such as the Niger Culture, Agriculture and Land Development Agency, the Bureau of Public Procurement, among others. Mr. Gbajabiamila asked the staff of these agencies to embrace innovation, excellence, and professionalism while emphasizing the importance of transparency in the procurement process.
We get a lot of complaints, we get a lot of letters, we get a lot of correspondences, especially in the areas of budgeting as well. So whilst we try to balance the need to meet these people, these agencies at their point of challenge, we also need to balance that, a very delicate balance of that, with the cost of governance. Definitely, resources are limited. In any country in the world, resources are limited. So it's about prioritizing. What are the mandates of these agencies? Where are we so far? What have they done? How have they measured up to their mandate? How important is the mandate in terms of the vision of this administration and the renewed hope agenda? So we have to prioritize and determine what is required. I will say that a lot of our agencies are not properly funded. So do we merge some of these agencies? If they can be merged, do we even scrap if they can be scrapped? I'm not talking about these ones, I'm just generally. Or do we actually either fund fully, fund a little bit more than we're funding to meet the target goals or the targeted goals? And that's what we're doing. That's what we hope come 2025. We're not just budgeting in a vacuum. We're budgeting based on needs and based on our needs assessment.
Let's get to the international scene. Besides the iconic and record-breaking performance of Tebogo at the Olympics, Botswana is back in the news, this time with the discovery of the second largest diamond ever found, a rough 2,492 carat stone unearthed at the mine owned by Canadian firm Lucara Diamond. This is the biggest find since the 3,106 carat Cullinan diamond found in South Africa. That's in 1905 and cut into 9 separate stones, many of which are in the British Crown Jewels. The diamond was found at Karowa Mine, about 500 kilometers, that's 300 miles north of Botswana's capital, Gaborone. And Botswana's government said it was the largest diamond ever discovered in the South African state. In sports news, the University of Lagos says it is leaving no stone unturned to ensure that the fast-approaching 11th Federation of African University Sports Game is successful. The Vice-Chancellor, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, made this known at a briefing to intimate the media on the preparations of the university to co-host the competition with the Lagos State University. The Federation of African Universities Sports Game, also tagged Lagos 2024, will hold from September 21st to September the 28th.
UNILAG has always been a beacon of excellence in academics and sports, and we view this responsibility as an opportunity to reinforce our leadership role in promoting student-athlete development across Africa. Our preparation for the FASU Games has been meticulous. We have upgraded our sports facilities to international standards, and we have ensured that the necessary logistics are in place to guarantee a seamless and exciting event. I want to ensure all participants, officials, and spectators that UNILAG will deliver an unforgettable experience that reflects the spirit of African unity and excellence.
The unis are heading down to Lagos, Nigeria, the city of excellence. So let's see how that plays out. But hey, those are the stories we've been tracking in the last 24 hours. Will form part of our conversation for today on the show and perhaps the rest of the day on the station. So